Hey, in the Shaka Tank, we gather entrepreneur stories, how they started, what they've learned, their faithful journey, and the lifelong principles they carry. War scars and war stories, we've been through it all. Welcome to the Shaka Tank.
Thank you. Yeah.
Hey, so we got Ryno and Duckie and Mike. We're here. We're in the Shaka Tank, and yeah, just what's great is the last couple episodes. I obviously I knew the guests, right? So today I get to be very fresh, and I get to learn more about you guys. I talk to entrepreneurs all the time, and my career, like I've come across people where I'm just trying to extract their stories. So this will be a little fun for me on this one. So, but yeah, I mean. Would you guys mind kind of introducing yourselves of what you guys, I mean, I read, I've heard a little bit about your background, but I'd love for you guys to share a little bit about, where you're from, what your story is, like how, what you guys do.
Awesome. Yeah. My name is Ryno Irwin. I was born in California, moved to Maui when I was about 7 years old.
Okay.
Grew up there, moved back to the mainland for high school. And then after high school, came back to Maui and went to community college and left about 2 years, started a business. Now I'm a CEO of a company here. We do construction, energy, and facility maintenance. And when I moved back to Oahu, I moved to the west side and where I met my wife, Duckie.
Nice. West side, best side.
West side, best side.
A couple
yes. Almost west.
Almost west. I learned.
They scared go around the corner. It's good though. So tell us a little bit about tell us about what Hawaii Unified is, your role, Duckie's role. Maybe back that up to how you guys met or your early stories on entrepreneurship. How did you guys get into it?
Yeah. So actually, I started a company in college called Ryno Networks. I was supposed to be in computers and internet marketing, and I just started doing some work at the local Home Depot and Lowe's. This is right when they came into the Hawaii market, and we were doing some setup of displays and merchandising, things like that. And I ended up growing that business through college, and to the point, was the reckoning day was 9/11, 2001. I showed up at school, even knowing what had happened, and the teacher said, "What are you doing here?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you're right. What am I doing here? Like, I got a business going. I got to make a choice. Am I going to do a business or am I going to do school?" Just put everything into like a perspective for me, and grew that business a little ways until I sold it for very less than it was worth, but it was kind of a forced sale. Like it was a hostile takeover, if you will. Yeah. So use that proceeds to start a new company, Hawaii Unified, that was focused on helping retail stores coming into the Hawaii market in the early 2000s. We started out with doing work for Ross Dress for Less and a few other big box stores. And then we started managing their facilities ongoingly, got into energy efficiency, and then they asked if we could build solar projects for them. So we, about 13 years ago, started a renewable energy division of the company.
And can I ask what inspired that? So you went from, by the way, this episode is sponsored to you by Inspire Collective. So I got to throw that out there. But what inspired the transition from your first company, selling it, and then getting into was there some opportunities that you saw, or was there some unique perspective from your last business that kind of trickled over to the new venture that you started getting into?
Yeah, great question. So what we were doing originally was retail related. So I knew retail, but I also knew that retailers were really struggling in the Hawaii market. Like we cracked this code where we figured out that the Home Depot and Lowe's stores, they were using an automated ordering system, but they didn't understand the logistical challenge of Hawaii.
Yeah.
It takes 6 to 8 weeks to get product here.
Right. Yeah.
Right? So we figured out how to order products effectively, and that led to us getting a bunch more business. And so I realized that there was a need in the market for retailers that were coming to Hawaii to use a local company to help them. But we did it with construction this time. So building their stores for them, the interior build outs, and then managing them ongoingly as a local resource to manage the facilities.
Got you. And that's Hawaii Unified.
Hawaii Unified.
Got it. That's great. The name is awesome.
Thanks. I've gotten some criticism of it. Like, is that a school district? Or, it's like, no, it's, we just do a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
why.
you're bringing it all under one roof.
Yes.
So united.
Yeah.
Unified.
Yeah.
Okay. Bringing it all under
That's
one
where
roof.
it came from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome. So, so how did you? Who's your first original inspiration for why you started businesses? How come you didn't just get a job like everybody else?
I grew up in an entrepreneurial family.
Okay.
My dad was a helicopter pilot by trade, but he always had like a business going. Like, he went and took a job over in Indonesia, but in his off time, he would buy products in like Bali and send them home. And then we would have to like go to the swap meet and sell them. And so I knew that, I wanted to work for myself and I wanted to be able to kind of control how much income I was able to make and not just be under the thumb of a job. Yeah.
So you learned arbitraging at a very young age.
Yes.
Bali arbitrage.
Yep.
Yeah.
What is arbitrage for everybody else?
It's basically like
and me.
taking something, right? And then you're just moving it to another market, but you make money off of that margin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like import export.
Yeah, kind of like that, yeah. But like being able to move one category to the other. I don't know if I'm doing a good job explaining it, but yeah, kind of like that.
But the quick story about my first unofficial business was, you know what Jackson chameleons are, right?
Yeah.
So when I was in intermediate school, I would go to my friend's house and start picking Jackson chameleons. These are lizards that are in the tree.
Yeah.
Right. And I would wait till my dad invited all his friends over and they had a few drinks. And then I had a ficus tree. I pull out the Jackson. I'd show him how it ate the bug. And then I would sell him the whole package for like $90. You get the Jackson, the tree, everything. And then lo and behold, like 3 days later, be like, oh man, I can't take care of this thing. Here's your Jackson back. And I'd keep the $90.
Wow.
So I actually traded my Sega Genesis for 10 Jacksons so I could sell them. And that was like
wow.
Yeah, my dad was furious. But I was like, look, I made 3 times as much money. He's like, all right, that's cool.
Yeah, I know this kid. He actually they go to Inspire Mililani, and he was like, yeah, I source out web development for $15 and I resell it for $500. I'm like, what? So that's like arbitrage at its finest. And he's like 16 years old.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But that's the state of the world that we're in, right? It's like as long as you can find a source that could develop for less and you could resell it for more and you could bridge that gap, there's opportunity there, right? And that's kind of what you do with Hawaii Unified, correct? Like
Again, yeah.
Right? Yeah, okay. Cool. And then Duckie, I would love to kind of hear about your story too, right? So I know you're also an entrepreneur, or you guys I found out you guys are Hawaii's power couple. Is that am I right on that? Or?
Yeah.
There's a spin on that. Yeah.
Hey, let's like lock it in right now. It's like a pod. It's locked in. Hawaii's power couple. But yeah, you want to share a little bit about your background too?
Sure, absolutely. So I'm a West Side girl, grew up in Makaha. I actually went to school for journalism and literature at 15 or so. Years later, I'm doing nothing of the sort. Actually, my husband and I have come together in alignment, and I like to call what we have a missional marriage. So we work together in the business, Hawaii Unified, but then we also have a nonprofit. It's called the Makaha Learning Center, and that's really our love story to the community. And that's what drives us to be successful. So the more successful we can be, the more we can deliver on our programs, which are to drive trade education and opportunities for our at-risk youth, really for anybody who wants a fresh start, and especially to build up a clean energy workforce. So yeah, we have learned to drive in our own lanes. I'm primarily over the nonprofit side. Ryno is primarily running the construction side. And we like to joke that, Ryno makes the money and I spend the money, right? We turn it around into our community programs and stuff. So
they say you got to spend money to make money, though, right?
This is true. Yeah.
The 80-10-10, right? The 80-10-10 rule. You got to like take some. I'm not trying to parlay. Like, you do got to spend in order to make. But
yeah. So that's primarily my role right now. I am currently Mrs. Pacific Islands 2024, and really this whole next year for me is about taking a clean energy mission to the world. I think we're at a place right now where we have to get real about, taking big steps to reduce our carbon footprint. So that's sort of my jam right now.
Nice. How long have you been doing that for now?
Oh, pageantry. It's new for me. One day I got put up to a challenge to break through some limiting beliefs. And they said, you should run for a pageant. And I said, okay. I did. I went up to nationals for that. I was successful. First time running and broke into top 15. And then I came home and I said, never going to do that again.
Right.
And then like 6 months later, I was like, I'm not done. Yeah. It's new though.
That's awesome. So how did you guys meet?
Yeah.
Bum, bum, bum.
Dun, dun, dun.
West Side Story
It is
meets
a West
Cali.
Side
Story.
If you guys caught the collective event, Ryno did say he was a stalker. Right? He self-proclaimed.
I heard that.
Yeah.
I heard
Let's
that.
not teach people that works. Right?
No. In a very
maybe.
subtle way.
Creep. Creep is probably a better word.
He was a creeper.
Just creeping up. You're just creeping.
No. So
We call it Riz. Young kids call it Riz.
Riz.
I got really fortunate and blessed to have an opportunity to buy a foreclosure in this neighborhood where my dad had built his home. And I had recently kind of come out of a bad relationship, and I was literally just praying to God, like, okay, God, like, I don't want to do this again. I don't want to be single forever. I want to meet a good Christian woman that like has good values, good morals. Like, that's really what I'm looking for. And when I bought this new home here in Hawaii, obviously it's like a custom to always have a house blessing when you're going to take, possession of the home. So I didn't feel good about having a house blessing just because I didn't know who to invite, because a lot of the friends that I had, we had mutual friends with the previous person I was with. So I didn't want to be like, hey, come to my new house.
Right.
It was just weird. So I told my parents like, I don't know if I really want to do a house blessing. They're like, oh, you have to. And I'm like, well, who am I going to invite? They said, we'll just invite all the neighbors. So they invited the neighbors, and lo and behold, this one gentleman showed up and brought his daughter. And I was like, what's up?
And then he offered me a job, and I was like, no, thank you.
Yeah. So, I was like,
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't take the job. Like,
Yeah.
you imagine you did. Like, oh,
I was
God.
looking to follow up communication, what's
yeah.
a good reason to call after that, right? So, I was trying to figure out, okay, how do I meet this girl, meet up with her again? So, at the time, my son was about 5 years old, and it was Christmas time. So went to Costco, bought some gift baskets for the neighbors, 3 of them to be exact.
Yeah.
And then brought a gift basket over to her house with my son in a turtleneck sweater. So I'm like, oh, hi. Good to meet you again. Yeah.
Turtleneck
It was
sweater
a
in
secret
Hawaii?
weapon.
It looked cute.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I don't think I've worn pants in like a year.
Wait,
3
red,
years.
white, or green? Red, white, or green?
Oh, definitely red. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so you guys have been working together too, or is it always separate? Because that's an interesting dynamic.
It wasn't until, after we got married. Yeah.
Actually, right about the time when we met, I had already had plans to go and start a destination wedding company on the Big Island.
Okay.
And so I was like, no, God told me I'm going to do this. If we're going to be together, then that's just the way it has to be. So we actually did distance for a good year and a half.
Yeah.
And then we got married.
Distance as in like Oahu
And Big
Big
Island.
Island.
Big Island. Okay,
Oahu,
okay.
Big Island. Yeah.
Right.
After being in our marriage for about a year, we realized that we were always in constant, not competition, but more so for like, he's on his path, I'm on my path. We both have to figure out how to work together with the kids and everything. And it just came to be that, my wheelhouse and everything, that all of my experience just really lended itself well to the business. And so he pushed really hard, and I actually entered the business kicking and screaming.
Yeah.
And it was the right thing to do.
No.
So
It was tough, and we had to learn, how to work together.
So let's double click on this. So
Yeah.
I think the Shaka Tank isn't always just like the good stories, right?
Yeah.
The Shaka Tank is wild. You know what I mean? Like, hey, we don't know what's gonna happen in here, right? And some of the times, sometimes you go through some of this adversity. We were just talking about that on another episode, and you come out of it and you come out stronger, right? So could you share like what some of those challenges were and how you guys overcame it? Because we're talking like even startup, right? It's like you're trying to solve problems. Every single problem you solve, hey, that might be a new business. And I'm sure you solved a lot of problems in your business too. Yeah. But like, could you share like some of those? By the way, I don't want to create any tension.
No.
no.
We don't want to replay the past.
Yeah.
But for our listeners' benefit,
Yes.
help us.
Yeah.
How does this work? How do you make this work? Okay,
Yeah.
separate career or separate businesses. How do you make this work?
Well, what kind of came to a head was when I was looking for someone for a specific position in the company. I was looking for someone that had really good marketing experience, could help us with, strategic development, business development. And everyone that I interviewed, I kept thinking to myself, gosh, my wife would be a better person than this. And I was thinking, well, wait a minute, if she's so much better, why don't I just bring her in? Because I'd rather keep that money in our household, right? And so that's when I was pushing her along with it. And we had just had a baby about a year before, right? Tara was 1. And so it was like, she was kind of in that spot of, am I going to go back and work and do the wedding business, or what direction I'm going to go in? So I pushed for it and I got my way, but then what's the next chapter?
It turns out we both like to wear the same hat.
Yeah.
Right. So
two bosses in the house.
Two bosses.
Yeah, I like
We
that.
both want the steering
There's a
wheel.
reality show here somewhere.
Oh.
Turn the cameras on.
That's where the power couple thing comes from.
Oh my gosh.
Who's got the power?
I got the power.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
They didn't laugh too much at that.
They were like, yeah.
True story. True story.
Yeah.
No, it like we said, it took a little bit of time for us to kind of work out those kinks. And so we're both very entrepreneurial. I have more of a marketing mind, I'd say, and he's definitely a sales driver. I don't like to be managed. I like to work independently. He likes to know what everyone's doing at all times. And I'm like, my boss or my husband, right?
Right.
So eventually, actually, that is...
My wife says that to me all the time. We don't work together.
Oh my gosh, right?
Yeah.
I'm much nicer to my husband than I am to my boss.
Yeah.
So, but actually, that's how the Learning Center came to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as we're going through this, we came to a point where we're just seeing blessing upon blessing in the business, and we always knew that we wanted to sow into the community. Of course, there was learning through that too. I wanted to be like, we're starting a church, and he was like, well, we had an opportunity through one of our friends to kind of pick up and carry on a mission of, I would say, a nonprofit that had done a lot of good work in the past, but that had no programming, no funding, no home. It was basically like a shell of a nonprofit. That was the Makaha Cultural Learning Center. And so we had the opportunity to kind of like pick up on that and shift the mission to what we really believed would pour into our community. And so it was just kind of perfect timing where I was like, you know what? I'm going to stop struggling for this and take this opportunity that God just pretty much plopped in our laps after we're saying, God, how can we help? What can we do? Right? He's like, well, here you go. And that's when I really started to focus in and hone in on the mission of the Learning Center and developing the programs, getting the accreditations and stuff like that.
Wow. So the Makaha Learning Center actually helps young people or older people, doesn't matter, right? To gain skill in trades that will help them in their future.
Yeah.
To work for like either unionized companies or non-union companies, to be able to add value and take home a good paycheck.
Yeah. So it's everything that we do comes with national certifications.
Wow.
Today, certifications, it's the name of the game, right? It's what's going to drive your funding. It's going to get people jobs.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll get them certified. We also help beyond that to, we'll run job fairs and private job fairs and try to get them hooked up with people that are going to give them that first step. We've seen enormous success. And really just recently, we have started to focus in almost exclusively on clean energy because the demand for clean energy technicians and solar technicians is outpacing nursing right now.
Wow. Yeah. Everybody wants solar now. And so you need people to service that.
Yep.
Installation and service.
Yep.
And build it.
Yep.
Is it a local thing here in Hawaii, or are you saying in general? Just curious.
I mean, it's the demand is nationwide.
Nationwide. Okay.
Beyond,
Sure, I just wanted to clarify.
But it's a big deal here because we have, 100% renewable energy mandate by 2045, but we don't have the workforce to build that out. So, that's where we were really seeing a need. And
you guys hear that?
Yeah.
Hey, that's a clue right there to where this is going. But yeah.
So we were seeing the need, as doing that business, getting contracts to build projects, and we couldn't find skilled workforce. We're like, hey, there's a need for this.
Yeah.
And through the Learning Center, we were able to leverage Hawaii Unified's past performance and credibility to help get those certifications. But what we're seeing is when a student goes through that course that we put on, when they get certified and come out, they have the equivalency of 3 years of on-the-job training in a 13-week course.
16.
Wow.
16. I always say
You
that.
always do that. Yeah, that's the
Not
other
there for 3
class.
weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and these are, I mean, you know, we've seen students come out right out of high school, really no direction. They go through the course and they get a job and they're making $25 an hour start. And then now 2 years later, we're trying to hire them back from wherever they went. We're like, wait, we need more people. And they're making $35 an hour.
It's just like a trade school.
It's a trade school.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're in Hawaii, you'll see their vans or their trucks. They're orange and blue. By the way, Ryno and Duckie Irwin, Hawaii Unified, are big sponsors of the Inspire Collective, hitting every single sphere of society, not just church.
Yeah.
And huge blessing to us. So you'll see their vans or their trucks, Maui, Big Island, Kauai.
We're just breaking into
Just
Kauai
breaking
now.
into Kauai.
Yeah.
And I also want to say, Daniel, that these guys were one of the first people into Lahaina. When Lahaina needed help, they were there within 48 hours, I believe. 48 hours. They bought up everything that they could from Costco, whatever they could bring from Oahu. Were driving it into places because they had the pass.
We had an emergency services authorization.
The authorization to go into those places. And we got video of them handing out cases of water, flashlights for the people whose homes still survive, but were sheltering in fear to a certain degree, afraid to come out because it was kind of like the Wild West when it first began.
Yeah.
Right.
A lot of uncertainty, and helped people at all the different hubs with water, food, clothing, you name it. So shout out to Hawaii Unified for that.
So can you share a little bit about this? Like obviously we were all devastated by seeing that news, right? What made you guys feel like we got to take action on this? And like, obviously you had the resources. Like, can you walk us through kind of like the beginnings of all that?
Yeah. Literally the day after it happened, I woke up at like 3:30 in the morning on the spot. And I just really felt like God was telling me, you got to do something. And I didn't know what it was. And I gotten a call like, hey, we're having a conference call, a Zoom meeting where everyone's going to put money in and we're going to help. And so I'm like, okay, maybe that's what I'm supposed to do. So I was going to go to that Zoom and listen in. And then the next day, next night, 3:30 in the morning, woke up again. And it was clear, like God's like, you got to do something. You got to go, do something. And I got like I think it was an Instagram message from this guy that I met 6 months ago, barely knew him. And he was in his attic in Virginia. And he said, hey, Ryno, I just wanted to send you this message and let you know that if I was in Hawaii right now, I would be over there in Lahaina helping, doing everything I could. So I just thought I would just reach out to you and see what you're doing. And I was like, okay, there's the message. God's telling me we got to go. And I just thought, it came to me like at that instant, like, we have trucks, we have resources over there. Like there's something we can do. So I was still early in the morning, woke Duckie up like, we got to go to Lahaina. We got to go now. Yeah.
And I'm sure you're a busy person, right? You have a business to run.
Yeah.
But your heart was like, hey, we got to go do this. And you just dropped it and just.
Yeah. And, we had really great partnerships. I mean, there was tons of stuff going to Maui, but it wasn't getting out to the people. That was the thing. And, Inspire Church had given us a budget of money that we could still get supplies from Costco and Walmart. And so we got our trucks and got a few more trucks, got linked up with a couple other people from Inspire and on the Big Island. Waimea. Yeah, Tiger. And we loaded up the trucks. I called the state of Hawaii Emergency Services, told them we actually got a work order to go put in an emergency generator at the Long's Drugs in Lahaina.
Right.
So that's what gave us the authorization to get there because they have temperature controlled critical drugs at Long's Drugs where they need power. Right. So that's how we got the authorization to get in. We took all the trucks, we filled them up, and we're taking loads back and forth. So that was... Yeah, it was amazing just to see how people came together out there, though. They didn't have food, they didn't have water, and they didn't have electricity.
Right.
Yeah. And they didn't want to leave their home because they were scared if they left, they'd have to go to shelter and they couldn't come back.
How'd that work for you guys? You guys had the kids at home. Would you guys both go?
Our parents, my parents live with us and they are incredibly supportive. And as soon as we told them like, hey, God's saying go, they're like, of course, absolutely go. Um, what I loved about what I love about Ryno a lot of times is his boldness. And when you hear from God that you are to do something, you know, that he just moves in that faith. Like me, on the other hand, I'm like, well, what are people going to think? We're not even from Maui. You know, are you sure this is what we're supposed to do? Right. You're just like, so many toes to step on and stuff like that. And it's just like, when God gives you that, you can just move in that authority, you know?
Right.
And so it's like, God told you to go, we're going to go. Yeah. So we went, and it was just like amazing and incredible to see how so many things and resources came into place, and how grateful people were when we got there. I just think of like, what if Ryno was to say, nah, not my place. Nah, I'm not hearing this clearly. Like it would have been days, weeks, maybe even before people could get that stuff out to them. It was really tragic.
It's powerful. And I think one of the business principles is business isn't always business. Like sometimes you got to be able to adjust from your regular routine to help somebody that can't help you in return. You know what I mean? They're not going to, those people didn't pay for that stuff. You know, they just needed help, and they took time out of their business time to be able to use most of their own resources. We helped out, but it was most of their resources to be able to do that and be able to be the hands and feet of Jesus. I think it's critical.
And I think also, have you heard, you know, Tom Brady talks about the man in the arena? Have you guys heard this?
Yeah.
I'm not going to read, but I can't paraphrase it, but basically it's a quote by, was it Roosevelt or?
It was Roosevelt.
Roosevelt, right? And he's like, you know, the man in the arena is the one that's doing the work, right? Where everyone else is just like watching them, right? And they're the warriors in there. And I feel like, you know, with your experience, Ryno, was like done business, you know, probably went through your own war scars, but it prepared you for these other things too, to be able to help. Because a lot of people probably didn't have the resources to help, nor did they have like the experience. And then when you went, you know, a lot of people probably be like, what do I do? I don't know. But you probably were like, hey, I have all this experience working with I'm sure you have a team, yeah?
Yeah, we have a team.
You have a team. So like, it's almost like you were ready for this particular situation that emerged. I did want to kind of go back into your story, right? So it sounds like you have again, I'm coming at this very fresh, so it sounds like you have a pretty successful business.
Over $200 million in contracts.
Right? Over $200 million.
Over how many years?
18 years.
18 years?
Yeah.
So that's a lot of scaling. One of my favorite podcasts. Hey, Pastor Mike, you know about scaling too.
Yeah, but it's innate. It's not like nobody gave me the steps to scale. You just figure out what the next step is.
Right? So one of the things on this podcast we try to do is like collect stories and like, you know, little nuggets of wisdom and distribute them in like a local manner, right? So like maybe local entrepreneurs, they can kind of conceptualize it, or like, oh, that's interesting. They're from Makaha. Okay, I get that. You know, Maui, like, you know, they're not hearing this from some Stanford like classroom, right? So one of my favorite podcasts is Masters of Scale, right? By one of the co-founders of PayPal. And he talks about how companies have scaled and what they did, because it's not easy. There's a lot of bumps and bruises. Two questions. How did you scale? And then the second question in Hawaii, right, is like, there's a lot of opportunities that probably come with scaling. And how do you focus?
Good.
Yeah. Focus is one of the biggest challenges as an entrepreneur. Okay, right? I mean, we have this curse where we see an opportunity, we want to jump on it because it's an opportunity. But if it takes you away from what your core business is, you really have to evaluate, like, is the gain worth the opportunity, you know, because is it going to detract from what I'm already doing and doing well? So that is something that I've had to learn as an entrepreneur to keep coming back to, because I've definitely have taken sidetracks, you know, and been distracted by shiny pennies, you know, it's the old shiny penny syndrome. But as far as scaling the business, it really does come from identifying a need and figuring out how you can solve the problem. Like you got to look for what your client's challenges are. And then when you can fill that need, and that it gives you the opportunity to do business with them or to create a contract, now you got to figure out how to get it done. And so it's one thing to say yes, which as entrepreneurs, a lot of us are good at saying yes, hard to say no. But once we say yes, you got to have the right team and the right plan to get it done. And you got to do it at all costs. Yeah. I mean, it's if it means you're staying up all night to get that job done,
That's what it means,
Yes.
at all costs.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you got to make it happen, because once you fail, when you've made a commitment to a client, that's it. That client is done with you. I mean, that's been my experience. Yeah.
And I think this is an area where it's important, or at least for us, both being in the business together, where we're able to, we both know what's going on in the business. We're goal setting together. We understand what's coming. We know what it takes, right? If I had been outside of the business, perhaps I would have maybe not agreed with that, right? We would have there would have been a disconnect. And so I think that's always something that's really important for us as well. And one of those lessons too was that, we always have to be in constant communication about what's up next and what's it going to take.
What are we committing to?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that also involves the whole family too, though.
Yeah.
Because they have 3 children. It's kind of like Lisa and I, as we lead the church. And I thank God that we both lead it together. Because if she was just, nothing wrong with this model if it works for you.
Yeah.
But if she was a wife in the front row who came to one service out of 5 that I was at, and, clapped for me, gave me a kiss, went back to the house, that's one model. And that wouldn't have worked for us, though, because Lisa is such a she's a lot like a little bit of Ryno, a little bit of Duckie. You know what I mean? And so to have that teamwork, but there's tension in that teamwork. There's also tension, like who's the boss? She knows I'm the boss. At the end of the day, she gets to sleep with the boss. Come on now. Hashtag me too. That's what I tell her. I'm just kidding, everybody. I'm just
what's going on right now?
Different model. If that model works for you,
Yeah, that works for us. I can tell you that. The teamwork model, the 2 of us, and she's really good in a lot of things, which allows me to start things that I never thought we would start for the church. You know what I mean?
Right.
Do things that we never thought we could do. So it's that symbiotic relationship. There's tension, but at the same time, there's ebb and flow. And the longer you do it, the better you get at it.
Absolutely.
But it doesn't happen overnight, man.
No.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen overnight.
The smooth rocks didn't start off smooth.
No. It was lava rocks at one time.
yeah, right.
Then it became the Ili. What is that? Or whatever you call that, those smooth stones.
Yeah. And that's like business, right? We're always constantly rounding out our business. We're figuring out new things. So one of the things I was hoping the listeners would find is like, don't get discouraged. Discouragement is part of the process, right? It's like failure and conflict and frustration is part of the journey. Embrace it.
So what is the biggest thing that has helped you guys work together? Like what would be the principle or the trait that says, look, we are doing a lot. We live in Makaha. Like that's a great place to live, but a far place to live from all your business. You have kids, you have schedules, you got school, you got business on the islands, different islands, and you're Mrs. Hawaii, Polynesia, right? Polynesia?
Currently Mrs. Pacific Islands, but
sorry.
but was Mrs. Hawaii.
Yeah. Not Mrs. Polynesia. Was a different.
Yeah.
that's huge because Polynesia's huge. Anyway, let's cut that one out. So you're Mrs. Pacific Islands. You have that, and that's great. That's an incredible platform. You have the Learning Center, and you have Hawaii Unified as well. You both have it. What's the key? If you were to say, this is what makes it work, what would that be?
I think running big decisions, got to pray on it, but I got to run it by my wife. I don't make big decisions without talking to her about it first.
Wise man.
Because she is my grounding, like my grounding rod. She asks me the questions that I don't want people in my business to ask me, because I just get like, hey, no, I want to do this. Right. But she will ask me the tough questions, and I have to be accountable to her and my family. And so it really makes me take the time to say, is this the right thing to do?
Yeah.
Instead of just jumping in.
What's the balance for you, Duckie, for not maybe possibly throwing a little bit of cold water on something, trying to be careful not to do that because it might be a good idea?
Yeah, the what is it? The lipid test or whatever. It's always, have you been in prayer about it?
Okay.
Because
that's what you say to him the first thing.
Yeah. Have you been praying about it? Has God spoken to you about it? Because there have been many times where I'm following his lead and I'm going in just trusting that he's hearing from God. And that's really what gives me my faith. What shakes me sometimes is when I see him start to kind of freak out a little bit, you know? And so that's when I start like going, whoa, retracting a little bit. What's going on, you know?
Sure. Yeah.
But I would say that, you know, that's the question. Number one, are you in prayer on it? Are you hearing from God on it? And number two, like, is just being gentle and tactful in teasing out some of these answers and understanding how he is and what his personality is, right? Sometimes we have to do a reset where it's like, okay, we're getting a little hot here. Let's reverse it. Like, you know, and him knowing that my intention is never to shut something down.
Yeah.
But I just want to understand that there was thought behind it, that it's not just the shiny penny.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I think one of the biggest things for couples that are in ministry together, in business together, is the ability to think out loud without having all the answers, because you want to think out loud. Like I sometimes I tell my wife, I'm just thinking out loud right now. I don't want you to solve it. I don't want you to tell me no. I don't want you to tell me yes. I want to brainstorm. I want to go blue sky.
Yeah.
Let's blue sky this thing right now. Yeah. And then maybe. And so what I've found is, okay, she's for me. She's not against me.
Yeah.
Right. But Lisa will admit, for a long part of our early part of our marriage, she was glass half empty, not half full. And so sometimes she had to realize that I had to get out of his way a little bit and pull back a little bit. And I'm thankful that she did. Yeah. And I'm seeing my wife say yes to things that 15 years ago she would not say yes to.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Right? On business side.
Yeah. So one of my mentors, he said, Daniel, you're going to drive people crazy if you don't understand this concept. So he's like, I'm gonna help you out. I'm like, what is it? He's like, there's air, water, rock. When you talk to your staff, if they feel like they're on rock is solid, like we're doing it, right? Air is, hey, we're talking, we're just like, but I'm in air mode. They're like, what do we need to execute? So I've learned I have to figure out how to like segment it. Hey guys, we're having an air conversation right now. So just let me be me, right? Like let Daniel be Daniel right now. I saw this cool thing, right? Water is where you like test things, right? So you're like, okay, we're in this phase, like it's a little bit more deeper. We'll test it a little bit, you know? And then rock is like, we're doing it. But I've also had to navigate that too, right? It's just like, oh, no, this is air, guys. Like, please don't hold me to it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, is it a shiny penny? I don't know. I'm just toiling it right now and trying to figure it out. But then, you know, the fun part gets to when it's water and rock, but it does take time and dedication. And to your point, like also, you know, you got to smooth out some of the lava rock, right? Because, you know, if you don't do that, man, you know, those ideas or those thoughts can blow up, burn up, and now you take 5 steps backwards, you know what I mean? But I do think like understanding what things are at the right times and understanding how to communicate that way is really important. Yeah.
So Ryno and Duckie, you guys, we were joking about you guys being Hawaii's power couple, but the power is POWUR.
Right.
Tell us a little bit more, just for a little bit. What is power?
So that wasn't misspelled. No. Someone misspelled that.
It wasn't misspelled in the bio. Power. Power. POWR. Power.
Yeah.
That's actually power.
Yeah, I was like, is that pigeon? I don't know. Yeah.
What's power?
Okay, so power is a platform when you boil it down. So we do residential solar, and what we were noticing about the residential solar industry, that there's a lot of money in commissions for residential solar. And here in Hawaii, a lot of that money, unfortunately, we have people coming into Hawaii, they stay for like a 3-month blitz, and then they take all those commissions and leave back to the mainland. And you know, we wanted to find ways, how can we keep more of that money here in our community? How can we see our community members benefit from this energy transition? Not just save money on their bill, but as an industry. Like we help build the workforce, but how can we make those commissions stay here in Hawaii? So we're looking at a way to incentivize people to refer their friends and family. To go solar, because, you know, with our electricity rates, the highest in the nation, like it's not really a matter of if you're going to go solar, it's like when and with who. Right. So we were looking for a way to manage this incentive program, and I found a software company that's actually a solar company in the mainland called Power. And what they do is they provide all the equipment and the platform for people to get certified to know enough about solar to refer their friends and family and get half the commission.
Got you.
And so I pursued him for about a year to come to Hawaii, and finally got a meeting with the CEO. And I said, look, we really want to bring this to Hawaii because we really want to help our community keep this money here in the state. And so we formed a partnership, and we brought power to Hawaii, Duckie and I. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like when I think about the last big industry that came here to Hawaii, that changed the landscape, that changed the economy, changed the way we did business, changed even the makeup of the people here, I think about sugar, right? And that happened, and all of that wealth was made off of the backs of people that lived here, and the wealth was not spread.
No.
Right? And so when I think about this renewable energy transition, we're talking about $3 billion that's going to transition during
$3 billion in commissions.
From one pocket to another.
In Hawaii.
In Hawaii.
$3
billion of commissions is what it
So it
represents.
should just be
I'd like to
called
see that stay in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Inspire Renewable Energy Collective.
Right?
Hey, that's wild. That much?
Yes.
It's crazy.
$3 billion in
Yeah.
commissions.
Yeah.
So as everyone's going solar, right? It's like,
Right.
I went solar, you can go solar, and everyone knows everyone. We love to talk story. Why not be the guy that says, I'll hook you up with someone. I don't have to do much work other than set up an appointment and get a bill. And then they get half the commission. We got to
Wow.
get creative about how we're going to make money because it's expensive here, right?
Oh yeah, most expensive state in America.
Yep.
So you guys know, if you're from Arkansas, Montana, God bless you guys. Lower cost of living. We got beaches though.
Yeah.
Less land, but a lot of beaches.
Yeah.
But it's true, right? Like how? So one of my friends from the West Side, she said, "Hawaii is not Hawaii without Hawaiians." And he's
It's
like,
not.
everyone's leaving because they can't afford to be out here. But I love. So one of the things, like, there's like information, acknowledgement, reacting to it, right? It's like once you get information, do you acknowledge the information? And then once you acknowledge it, can you react to it? And I think that's a key thing for me in business. Like, okay, everyone gets the information. So they just heard it right now with you said $3 billion.
Yep.
Do you acknowledge it? Hey, maybe that's going to happen. Maybe it's not. Well, okay, I think it's going to. What am I going to do to react to it? Am I going to take action on this thing? Or is it just like, but I think that's really interesting. And, for Hawaii to continue, hopefully to stay in Hawaii, right? There's going to need to be entrepreneurs and business folks like yourselves,
Exactly.
right? That are like, providing resources or information to help locals capitalize on some of these opportunities, But yeah.
It's been great for us to see. I mean, even her parents, her mom was HR director at a hotel. Her dad used to work at the resort doing timeshare appointments. They're retired. They jumped on the Power Platform. They got certified in like a weekend. And then now they're bringing bills in and making, I don't know, several $1,000s in a few months on commissions.
More than that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
After this episode, you know what's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
I want to get on the platform.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's get local people making money.
Yeah, that's the
You
idea
know,
behind it.
They're already going to get their solar. They know an uncle, auntie, or a new friend or a family member that's going to buy a house and eventually going to want solar.
Yeah.
So this is not an infomercial, but what is the website?
It's golocalpower.com, POWUR. So
POWUR.
yeah, so we have the Go Local Power Initiative, which is basically locals helping locals go renewable energy. Go local, grow local. So when you work with someone from the Go Local Power team, then you're going to be helping sowing back into the community, keeping that money here in Hawaii.
Go local, grow local.
That's the
I
theme,
like that.
but yeah, golocalpower.com is the website. Yeah.
Very
Love it.
cool.
Yeah.
Well, appreciate having you guys on, and a couple of things. So, like, right at the end, sometimes we just like ask, a couple golden nuggets, right? So whether it's some books you've read and some philosophies that you might apply to your career, maybe things that help you scale or help you stay focused, like whatever. Any like few golden nuggets that you guys have that like you've kept throughout your career and helped you get to the place that you're at?
Actually, I'm glad we came back around to this because one thing that I did want to say is that, as in a missional marriage and as a wife, I have to be Ryno's cheerleader too, and I've come to learn that if anyone can do wild and crazy things, it's Ryno, and so sometimes we can get really wrapped up in our own stuff and we forget to do that.
Yeah.
Right. And so I would say that is something for me that the sooner you can learn it, ladies, husbands, the better.
Mm.
No,
Yeah.
I see you as his biggest cheerleader. I think that's very, very important. I think Lisa is mine. I believe she is. Or I just look in the mirror and just cheer myself on. Come on, somebody.
You look
got
good,
this.
man.
You got this. No matter what they say, you got this. And I love it. I love it. But I can see that because that's very, very important. And I think that's one of the, like, can you explain real quick though, just a little bit of clarity on your understanding, what is a missional marriage?
We are, we're sold out for doing what we can to build the kingdom in whatever way we can. And that looks different for everybody. So, Jensen, what's his first?
Jensen Franklin.
Jensen Franklin. Yes, when we were at at Maui and he first spoke of missional marriage, and I was like, aha, that's what it is for us. We are in the boat together, but we have different duties, and it's all about the big picture of how do we pour into the kingdom of God, win people for Jesus.
I love that. And a lot of people listening to this podcast, your marriage can be missional too. I mean, even though you might be going in the same direction, but not necessarily on the same path because of different career choices or different places in life, I still think every marriage can be missional. Like, we didn't choose to have a missional marriage. No, I think everybody can be missional.
Yeah.
But I love this example of Ryno and Duckie and what they're doing. You got a question? One more.
No, I just wanted to say any other golden nuggets. So, I appreciate, Duckie's perspective on that. What about you, Ryno?
Just what I'm seeing in the business world now, there's a more and more of a bigger push to do everything virtual. And the way that I've built my businesses is by building relationships. And so I'm not a big proponent of going everything virtual. I love to get out there where business can be done in the marketplace. That's what I love about the Inspire Collective. Like, I get to get in a room with other entrepreneurs, people that are, excited about building a business. I get to find out what is it that they're doing? How can I help them with their business, or how can we work together to do something? So, I really am a believer in getting yourself out there and being in the room with the people that are going to make a difference and help your business grow. You're not going to build solid relationships over an hour-long Zoom talking about a meeting, in a meeting. Like, you need to converse and break bread and spend that time together. And that's where you build the relationship.
Can I ask you one question? I was going to end it there, but I ask you a personal question? From one entrepreneur to another. So I'm from California originally, right? Born in Orange County, lived there forever, right? Been back and forth to the islands last 20 years. Decided to live, been here for 4 years now, right? What is the single biggest challenge you think doing business in Hawaii, and how do you solve that or break out of that? I'm just curious from your side, right? 'Cause you know what I mean, right? So it's like, what is like the biggest challenge? And maybe like, if you're going to advise me, I'm like, what am I going to run into when I go to Hawaii?
There's a lot to unpack there. For real. I mean, Hawaii is, they say, the hardest state to do business in because of the taxes and all the expenses and all those things. What I'd like to see is for more Hawaii businesses to bring business to the mainland, to do business in the mainland. But in order to do that, you got to go to the mainland. You got to get in front of the customer base. When we built our business, 90% of our customers were based in the mainland. And people in Hawaii didn't even know who we were. They didn't even know who Hawaii Unified was because all of our customers were in the mainland. And we did that by going to trade shows, industry trade shows every year, multiple trade shows, and meeting the decision makers to be able to do business with their locations here in Hawaii. And they didn't even, it was the best way that we could make that connection. We never would have made that connection from here or trying to call them over the phone. We had to get in front of them and meet them, talk to them about Hawaii, let them know what their problems are in Hawaii that they didn't even know existed. So
it's interesting because I do think that's one of the biggest challenges is like this. So I call it like the TAM, total addressable market. When we have a TAM understanding of just local, that's so much that you can like take territory on.
Yeah.
But the minute you branch out and you start thinking, hey, how do I take mainland money?
Yep.
How do we take global money? That's one thing why we did, this Shaka Tank is like, this is global. Like this, like I'm playing around with some AI tools. I could literally translate this and deep fake our mouths in like 20 different languages like that. And the emergence of AI and different technologies and stuff is making things more accessible into this global marketplace, which I think is happening like right in front of our eyes right now. So I appreciate you bringing it up because I'm hoping that inspires a lot of local entrepreneurs and business folks to start thinking like, no. It's not just about AIA or it's not just about, Hawaii Kai. It's like, nah, this is nationwide. Let's go Arkansas, Kansas.
Well,
They just don't got our beaches, right?
I can't fact check this, but I have heard that the word Hawaii is the most branded, recognizable word in the whole vocabulary. So, like for marketing, if you say something is from Hawaii, like that resonates with so many people around the world. So you got to think about what product or service can I sell that brings Hawaii to their place a bit.
Yeah. You know what's crazy? Did you know, like, I found this out, that there is no local surf company that really emerged from Hawaii?
Wow.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, that's Rip Curl, Quicksilver, Ruka, Billabong, all of them in California. And I remember talking to some local, like, surf.
Now keep going.
No,
I'm thinking. My mind is going.
So
Town and
all
Country.
of these surf brands, right?
Locomotion, Town and Country.
Is Town and Country and Locomotion
check
from, from Hawaii?
I'm pretty sure
they were
Town and
started in
Country.
Hawaii.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course we started surf brands, brah.
I was talking to
Hui.
Lahui. Okay.
Yeah.
They were
wrong.
all bought out.
But what I did hear, but my point was
point
that they
is,
were saying like, hey, these big surf brands,
Yeah.
why is none of them here? Like, why are like all the big sponsors in the surf
Because they get
industry?
bought out.
Yeah.
So they get bought out. So all these other brands, they're all part of a larger company. So Hurley was bought out by Nike.
Yeah.
And Hurley's big in California.
Yeah.
Now you look at Quicksilver, Billabong, big Aussie brands.
Yeah.
I know Billabong is a big Aussie brand.
Yeah.
So you got the Aussies.
Yeah.
And you got the Californians, and they're being bought out, and they got big money behind it. Like, what was it? Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha at one time was one of the biggest. They got bought out, and now they no longer exist. But you made a good point, though. I understand that sometimes a lot of stuff in Hawaii that you would imagine would be birthed in Hawaii, was birthed something else using our ideas.
That's what I'm trying to say. I see Hurley has say mahalo on it all the time.
Yeah.
It ain't from Hawaii. That was my point. I didn't mean to say. I got to fact check. I'm glad.
No.
Mike's on the pod to check me. I'll quit.
I got you, bro.
But that was the point, right? It's like, hey, this is where surfing was invented. Why is the top 3 surf companies not from here, right? Why? And like you said, Hawaii is one of the most marketed words. Like, why are we not using that and exporting and taking that global money?
Oh,
and
my
bringing
last
it?
name, Kai. I need to trademark that. There's Kai Coffee. There's Kai Surfwear. I should get some royalties from all these people.
Hey, my last name's Kim. I need to trademark kimchi. See, he's quick with it.
No, stay right there. Kim Il Jung. No, I'm just kidding.
No. Hey.
Kim Il Sung.
And with that, the Shaka Tank is hot. You know what I mean? But hey, today this was really cool. One of the things I took away from is just, I'm married with my wife. I love that Mike was pressing in on that of like what works in a married power couple, right? Because I think especially a lot of entrepreneurs I see in Hawaii, they do have family-owned businesses, and there are challenges, right? And the fact that you guys were open to sharing some of these things, I hope that our audience and our listeners, they're taking away some wisdom, and I really appreciate having you guys on. I'm Daniel. It's Ryno, Duckie, and Mike, and we end with some shakas. That's what we do, all right?
Shaka out. 1, 2, 3.
Shaka.
Shaka out.